This is Buffalo's Uncensored Sports Show. You're watching Buffalo After Dark. Welcome, Buffalo After Dark, everybody. It is Wednesday night, October 11th, and we got a lot of good stuff to talk to you about tonight. Of course, we're going to start off with football, a little bit of baseball. We got some breaking hockey news we're going to talk to you in a little bit. But first, of course, we haven't seen him in a while. Good old Andy has come back to join us. Yay.
We'll be back for an episode finally.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I know you're busy with like emergency communications and all that stuff, man. So how's everything been going for you?
Always busy. Forever busy, forever tired, forever exhausted, forever stressed out. I can go down the line for days.
Oh, I hear you. It's like, even with my job right now, I'm like literally doing like 3 different projects for like 3 different things. And then I had to do a side project, which I finally finished up the other night. So I'm like, well, at least that's good. Which I will give shameless plug, my friend's party store opening in Amherst. Go there. It opens Saturday. So go over to Maple and Sweet Home. But with that being said, Mr. Tiny Hands Hansen.
Fuck you. What's going on?
Oh, my lady fingers.
Yeah. Well, we'll get right into it. But no, all's good. So, of course, if you want to jump on and talk to us live, 92920560099, or you can hit us up in the Facebook chat. We're going to start off with football. And, of course, the big thing that happened this past week, if you were actually up early enough to watch it, which I don't know why you wouldn't be.
I mean, I was.
Yeah, same here. The Bills lost to the Jaguars in London 25-20. And I can say, their turf sucks in that stadium. They should have had the grass instead of the turf, but that's beside the point. Second thing is, I guess one question I'm going to throw out there is, why did we wait till Thursday to fly to England? And then the next question I would have is, for everyone who's thinking Milano tore an ACL, he did not tear an ACL, but he's still going to be gone for a while. So what do we do next on the defense? And of course, the Bills decided to bring back Josh Norman.
I'm going to let Andy go first because it's been a while since we've seen him on here.
All right. Well, I was at work for the game Sunday, so I was seeing bits and pieces for the most part. I got to see enough of what I needed to see. This is very tough when it comes to England. I know they use turf, not grass. It's been a thing going on for quite some time that the players want every stadium to have grass and not turf. But at the end of the day, you still got to play the game and you still got to try and get a victory. So from what I was told and what I heard and saw, they started off slow and, they really didn't go into the fourth quarter. And the rest is history. They lose 25-20, and, these games are going to be heartbreakers at the end of the season. I mean, losing by 7 points or less is, this team could be 5-0 easily. And it's going to hurt them later. I think it is with the schedule, the way it gets, tougher at the end of the year. It's going to cost them. It might cost them. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it easily could be the difference between getting like a first or second seed or being down in the wild card. It could go a bunch of different ways. But I gotta say, though, that offense, I have some concerns about it because, and not with Josh Allen, but the rest of the offense. Allen Diggs, I'm okay with. But the rest of it, where was the run game? We didn't have much of anything again, and it was all one-dimensional.
Yeah, they ran away from play action, which working.
Doesn't make any fucking sense at all. They should have just sticked with what they had. And if they just sticked with what they have, they probably would have won the game. I mean, take it for what it's worth. The one thing that I found out about the Jacksonville game, the Bills' offense was flat. I think everybody knew that. Mm-hmm. But there was a comment that was being sent out by Roger Goodell himself. And I actually reshared it on my personal Twitter account. And he specifically said in the clip, if I find it, I'll share it with you. He specifically said that that they intentionally switched up the turf for the Buffalo-Jacksonville game on purpose because they were testing out a new hybrid of turf for the future of the NFL, which is supposed to be like a hybrid of artificial turf and grass. And they tried it out in the Jacksonville game because the week prior against the Falcons, they used, I think it was just turf or grass in general. And then nobody got hurt. And then it was the Buffalo game and then just completely flipped the script. And it's just like, why the fuck did you change the turf for the time being? For the Bills to be going into London 3 days before the game I think that wasn't very smart on their end because they were working at the sports science, which is like, fuck that. They didn't really work out because it blew up in their face. And
Right.
then the offense was just absolute flat, which was not even close to fair for the defense to recover because everybody got fucking hurt the majority of the time.
Oh yeah. Look at Daquan Jones. Jordan Poyer was the big, not Jordan Poyer. Matt Milano was the big injury though, because of course with the fact that he had that fractured leg, and then it was suspected that he would have had the whole knee issue. But in either case, he ends up going out with surgery. Daquan Jones goes out for surgery, so they're both going to be out indefinitely. At least from what it looks like with Milano, though, it's not necessarily an ACL. But I'm glad you brought up the thing about the turf because I mean that stadium has natural grass. But then, as you mentioned, they were trying like some new turf and it had like some different type of like rubber pellet infill or something different. And it's like, in a lot of these turf fields, they'll use crumb rubber to, help with keeping everything in place. And it's not the first time that anyone's ever been on a hybrid grass or artificial turf because two stadiums have had, at least three stadiums have had it before. Denver used to have it, and now they're fully natural grass instead of being a mix of turf and natural grass, which that stuff was actually called Grassmaster. Philadelphia used to use the same thing. They're now fully natural grass. The only stadium in the league that uses a hybrid turf is Green Bay, and it's like 95% natural grass and 5% artificial turf just to reinforce it so it doesn't get dug up in the winter.
Well, I think that's something that I would hope would get to a vote sometime in the off season. Because it's when it's coming from a lot of the players, I mean, I could only hope the NFL listens to them and, really plays to their strength and goes to, grass like a majority of them want.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't expect the NFL to do anything about the turf because all they care about is fulfilling an agenda, which is basically making money and putting up this artificial turf. They don't give a two fucks about injuries like that. Unless it was Patrick Mahomes, then it won't be enough. But
Oh yeah.
and that's the honest to God truth. But the fact that the NFL openly admitted it to switching up the turf before the game because there was another stadium set of grass that's like flipped over in Tottenham. They used the artificial hybrid for the Bills Jaguars game on purpose, and the Bills became the NFL's lab rat, and it completely just blew up in their face. And that's the thing that really pisses me off is if they just stick to what they had in the Falcons game. I don't know if the outcome would have been any different, but at least it would have been safer. And it was basically a body bag game. Like the Bills couldn't stay healthy at all. I mean, Milano was out, Daquan Jones was out, Taron Johnson almost tore his ACL because of that shitty condition of weather or the turf in general. He's
Yeah,
lucky
it got
he
his
didn't.
cleat stuck in like one of the loops or something.
Yeah, and then Dalton Kincaid had a concussion and he's in protocol.
Yeah.
Now, granted, he's limited in practice for the time being, and I expect him to play. If not, whatever. But the fact that the Bills were walking away with at least 7 injuries coming from that game, that's inexcusable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And here's another thing that also came to mind too. And I think you guys might have caught this comment, but Goodell also said it was an experiment on what it is to stay in England versus coming over right away. Because the Jacksonville Jaguars have been there for 2 weeks and they didn't go back. They're like, no, let's have them stay here. Let's see what it's like. And then, of course, the Bills fly in on a Thursday, which if I were managing the team, I would have said, well, simple, we fly in Monday night.
That whole ordeal just pisses me off to the point where it's like, why do you even need to have games number 1 in London? I mean, yeah, I know you're trying to promote the game. I mean, that's fine. But why do you have to switch up what you already had that was working perfectly fine? And in the last second, you flip it on purpose just so they could switch it out and just test it. Like, come on. And people are, and even one comment, I don't even know who it was, but somebody on the Bills was making a comment saying that we went all the way over there just to play on fucking cement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was, I think it was Taron Johnson.
Oh, is that who that was?
I think so.
Because I know he made a comment about that, but I don't know if it was him officially.
It was either Taron Johnson or Daquan Jones.
It was one of them, but either way, it wasn't pretty. And the outcome, I think, would have been completely different. Even if the Bills lost, I would have been fine with it. But people are writing in narratives now saying the Bills are overrated. I think the people who are making these comments didn't even bother to watch the game. They just went over because the media told them.
Mhm.
That's the thing I hate the most.
Yeah, I mean, all things considered, I mean, the Bills are 3-2. It could be a lot worse. Could be the Jets. They're 1-4,
Well,
and they had some decimating injuries now.
well, they're playing the Eagles on Sunday, so that's
Yeah, so
their
they'll get
problem.
destroyed even more. But yeah, the Jets, I mean, they lost their corners. So I mean, they're looking at trying to scrape the bottom of the barrel. And then look at New England. Bill Belichick's on the hot seat for the first time, and Robert Kraft has actually said that he would consider firing Belichick.
I guess you could call it a, not a firing, but hey, it's time for a
The
change.
initial parting of the ways.
It's never going to be bad blood between them two if it gets down to that. It's going to be like, listen, I'm just going to go a different way. We had a great run. You're a legend here. You can sit up in the. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe he'll stay on as a GM.
Right.
GM,
Watch.
right?
They'll probably be like, here's a shit ton of money. Just step aside.
Well, the problem with
Okay.
that is that Belichick controls all operations. I think he's the president of football operations, the general manager, and the coach. This is basically Jerry Jones. The only difference is Bill Belichick won 6 Super Bowl rings with the best QB of all time. That's the big thing about him. But before Brady, he was a complete fraud. After Brady, he's a bigger fraud because the
Mhm.
guy has Mac fucking Jones. And how do you go into the media press with
Yeah.
a straight face and you tell everybody, hey, I'm going to keep noodle arm Mac Jones as my starting quarterback this week? Somebody-
Mac Jones sucks.
I mean, am I wrong? Am I wrong about that?
I don't know. That's tough.
Exactly. It's like Mac Jones is not Tom Brady. I know that they brought him in as a prototype to be filling in a big shoe for Tom Brady since he left New England,
Mhm.
and then having Mac Jones, like, I don't know if he just sucks, period, or the team is just a dysfunctional clown show. I don't know what the hell is happening. But as far as I'm concerned, the Patriots are a joke, and I'm glad to see them all the way bottom of the AFC East. It is the most satisfying thing you could ever see. Seriously, it's like you watch them play like shit, but at the same time, they also have a chance to get Caleb Williams. So I'm not really sure.
Yeah. Well, I would say it's their entire offense that sucks.
They just don't click.
Yeah.
No, they don't.
Yeah. Bill O'Brien's not doing them any favors.
It also doesn't
really.
help that Matt Judon and Christian Gonzalez are both likely out for the season.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah.
That's a big shot to them. That's 2 key players. Just like us with Trey and Milano. It's going to be that time of year where injuries are going to be a big factor. They're starting to build up now.
Yeah. At this point, let Vaughn get 120% healthy before you put him back in.
I'm just saying it's fucking bullshit when you look at everything that's going on.
That's how it goes, man. It's
Mhm.
not going to be free of injuries all year, so it's going to happen to everybody. It just
Of
sucks.
course.
It happen to,
Yeah.
big time on defense.
True. And speaking of Tom Brady, the NFL's approval process for Tom Brady's proposed purchases of the minority ownership of the Las Vegas Raiders has reached a stop. And this is in part due to reservations regarding the 70% price reduction that Raiders owner Mark Davis is giving to Brady, and the deal is not likely to be approved by the league and the owners.
Oh, Jesus. The Raiders can't catch a break.
The Raiders don't know what they're fucking doing. The Raiders, again, they're a fucking joke, just like the
Mhm.
Patriots. But at least the Raiders have some sort of dignity compared to the Patriots. At least the Raiders, as bad as they are, can at least score touchdowns compared to fucking New England.
Although the Raiders aren't doing that great either because they've been wanting to get rid of Josh McDaniels for how long now?
Yeah, but they at least didn't get shut out. Yet better yet, they at least won against the Packers on national television.
True. I mean, it could be worse. It could be Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos where they got blown out 70-20 by Miami.
Oh God. Or losing to fucking Nate Hackett, aka the Jets are
Oh.
stupid
Yeah.
kind of vibe. I mean, imagine losing to the guy that I called out back in January being a shitty head coach, being your old coordinator for following year, You then had the audacity to say he was the worst coach in Denver Broncos history. Then you somehow, in the most brutal way possible, outperform him even worse. There's even Broncos fans out there who even said, I miss Nate Hackett. I'm serious. There's literally people in Denver who actually said, I miss Nate Hackett as the coach.
Here's a good quote. Polly Walnuts on The Sopranos would have said this, and he said, "Have a cookie, you're delusional." Or actually, no, have a cookie, you're delirious.
Basically, like, what the fuck do you do in that situation? I mean, it's bad enough that so much shit has gone on in the NFL world. Like, I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Fuck.
Me either.
It's early. It's early.
I
Just
know.
getting started.
Early or not, it's still stressful for everybody else. I mean, yeah, the Bills have to get back on track. The Dolphins have an easy cakewalk schedule. And even if Miami wins the AFC East somehow, they're still not going to get past the first round because that's how shit they are.
We'll see. We'll see how everything pans out.
Oh
A
yeah.
lot of shit going on with Bills and guys stepping in and then signing guys to the practice squad as, emergency backup. I'm not sure why the hell they went out and got Josh Norman. I really don't.
Me either.
It's like a deja vu. It's like you can't find any other players out there that you can bring in.
Yeah, seriously. It's
And
like
then
go to
Norman-
freaking XFL or something.
And then you go and bring back AJ Klein. It's like, why?
Right. And he failed here before.
Because I know, just because they know your system doesn't mean they're going to be good at the position that they're playing at their age. It's just not going to work.
Right.
Well,
Or how about trying Kyrie Elam, even though we didn't trade for him, we drafted him, but Kyrie Elam still isn't getting the job done, and he was the first overall pick for us.
That guy
Yeah.
was so ass against the Jags, and people are already looking to rip his head off. Like, come on. They haven't played him in 4 games, and then all of a sudden, it just took Tre'Davious White to get hurt, and Elam then gets a chance, and he played like absolute shit against Calvin Ridley. Like, good luck with that. And now that he's back on U.S. soil, he can actually produce at a solid rate, hopefully.
We'll see how he does. We'll see if he can put it all together like they are hoping he can.
I
And
think
be
so.
that first overall pick that we hope that he is. But time will tell. He's got a lot of work to do with his mechanics.
Yeah, he does.
Well, yeah.
He
I mean,
definitely
a player in the
does.
NFL is not going to be good in one season. It takes time.
Say a prayer that Bedford stays healthy and which will allow some time for Elam to get things together
Yeah.
because that secondary is starting to get banged up a bit already.
Yeah, they are. They
Well,
are.
There is some hope, and that is Christian Benford is on a limited practice, which is good. I mean, limited's better than not playing at all. I mean, yeah, he got hurt against the friggin' Dolphins, but Christian Benford, outside of Tre'Davious White, is probably the best corner the Bills have right now. And plus, there's already rumors that it's just getting warmer and warmer and warmer, that the Denver Broncos might be looking to tank for the rest of the season and hopefully get the first overall pick because they know that they fucked up on Russell Wilson.
Mhm.
So they said, and most importantly, because they did this last year with trading Bradley Chubb to the Dolphins and they got a first round pick. I've heard the price is at minimum a first round pick, another player, and maybe a couple of picks in a deal for Pat Surtain. And the Bills need a corner. So I'm not against the idea of trading a first round pick.
Got to go in all in sometime.
Yeah, and I think they will. I mean, I remember you and me last year were talking about off the air. We were talking about, oh, the Bills are going to make a trade. And you were just like, no, they're not. Trust me. And then very last minute, they trade for Naheem Hines. And yet somehow Zach Moss looks like the second coming of Adrian Peterson on Indianapolis.
It's funny how everything works like that.
Right. Although Indy's got a lot of stuff to worry about because their QB is Richardson is banged up again with his shoulder.
Poor guy. They're going to turn him into Andrew Luck.
Yeah, good old
Mhm.
Anthony Richardson. 2 big injuries in like 4 games.
Don't they have one of the better old lines though? I thought they did.
Well, they have Ryan Kelly and they have Quentin Nelson. I would love to have Quentin Nelson, but there's no room for him on the team at all. I mean, the Colts. The Colts to me have always had this awkward position to the point of they tried to address the offensive line, but it's never not enough. I mean, Quentin Nelson's been a stud since the moment he got drafted. And then Ryan Kelly was like the second best lineman that they have. But outside of that, they really don't have anybody else. And that's why most players like Andrew Luck and Anthony Richardson, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, etc., Phillip Rivers, all went to shit and they all went to die to the glue factory.
Well, at least the running game is good for now.
Well, yeah,
Clearly.
now it is. But I think now that Jonathan Taylor is back, I think Zach Moss's playing time is going to decrease naturally, unless he becomes like a second fullback and then plays on third down, plays and situations. Then I don't see how Zach Moss is going to get any time. Unless now that Jonathan Taylor signed that extension, I don't see how Moss is going to fit at this point.
Well, that depends if he can produce, and Jonathan Taylor can, as he's trying to get up to speed for being out for so long.
Yeah,
We'll see.
I remember in the beginning of the year how Dolphins fans were dancing around like they were going to get Jonathan Taylor, and then
Yeah.
and it just backfired on them so badly. I loved it.
Mhm. Yeah, very true. But let's talk about some trades because there were some deals that did take place this week. And of course, one of the big things, and we kind of figured this was going to happen. The Bears actually traded Chase Claypool to the Miami Dolphins. So they got better. And then Van Jefferson got traded to Atlanta.
And then Randy Gregory got traded from Denver to San Francisco.
Oh, that's a good trade for San Francisco because they're going to be even.
Yeah, I think
deeper
they
in the
traded like a
West.
5th round pick or something. But I wouldn't be surprised if this wasn't the last trade we see. Hell, there's even rumors going around that Kirk Cousins might be on his way out if he's willing to waive his no trade clause because he's in the final year of his deal. I wouldn't be surprised if the Bills make another move at either linebacker or corner. I wouldn't be surprised if they inquired about Pat Surtain, although I would love to see that happen. Problem is they got no money for the time being, but we'll see what they have to do because they really don't have a choice at this point. But who knows? But then obviously you said Jefferson to Atlanta, Chase Claypool to Miami, and then Randy Gregory to San Francisco. I don't know. See, with Miami, what the fuck are you doing? Seriously. You're literally buying a 5th string wide receiver to do nothing for you. You have bigger issues on your team, but then you go out and get a fucking wide receiver. Oh, why don't you address the offensive line, which the Dolphins have refused to do since the day Tua got drafted? Do something, dude. Come on.
Yeah, Miami needs a couple offensive tackles still. So
well, again, Miami is not the best organization. All they care about is one thing, and that's an agenda, which is to be the fastest team in the NFL. And you have Raheem Mostert having a great season, Jalen Waddle having a great season, even though he got hurt for a bit. Tyreek Hill wants to go over 2,000 receiving yards. And then adding a malcontent. Yeah, good luck with that, Finns, you fuck up. I mean, seriously, like these fucktards literally trade for a malcontent wide receiver who didn't even put in any effort to be a starter in Chicago. So what makes people think that he's automatically going to be a great receiver on Miami?
good point. That's a good point.
I'm just saying it blows my fucking mind that people actually have this delirious idea to think that Chase Claypool is going to somehow just turn them into a juggernaut.
I don't see it. I mean, yes, it helps with Miami's depth, but the only time Claypool really shined was when he was with the Steelers.
Yeah, really. And then in the beginning with Chicago and didn't really do much. And the thing now that the Bears traded the 32nd overall pick, and that 32nd overall pick was given up this year. And guess who the Steelers take with that pick? Out of Penn State, cornerback Joey Porter Jr.
Mm-hmm. He's having a pretty good season.
Exactly. So they fucked up.
Yep.
They fucked up big time.
Yes, they did. And as I say, with that being said, let's we'll have our nice little quick break here, and we're going to go into the second half where we're going to talk about hockey when we come back. So stay with us.
I'm Tom Wujek, co-host of Buffalo After Dark. Founded by Matthew Keeler, Edition is a Buffalo-based fashion label focusing on continuous experimentation in hockey. Their work consists of products, content, and experiences that inspire creativity. Playful curation provides energy that sparks a unique perspective and an ideology around seeing the game differently. Now you can save. Log on to justedition.com and use promo code WUJEK at checkout. You'll save 10% on all of your purchases. That is spelled W-U-J-E-K. Edition has built an influential following devoted to the infusion of creative expression through high-quality goods and tasteful collaboration. If you love creative products that push the boundaries, check out Edition. Visit their website at justedition.com.
This is Buffalo's Uncensored Sports Show. You're watching Buffalo After Dark.
All right, welcome back to the second half of Buffalo After Dark. Of course, you got Andy joining us for the first time this season. We got Mr. Tiny Hands over on the top corner here. And of course, we're going to jump right into hockey. So if you want to call us or hit us up in the chat, you're welcome to. Of course, our phone number is 92920560099. And let's get into some hockey news because we had two big stories come out of the Sabres within the last 48 hours. The first one, which this just happened right before we went on the air, is Owen Power just got extended 7 years, average annual value of $8.33 million.
You want to fire away on this one, Andy? Because you were the first one to tell us.
Well, we knew it was coming, right? It was just a matter of time. Darlene was probably going to get done first. I'm kind of shocked at his number at 11. I thought it was going to be around 9.5 to 10, but I guess what the hell? What's another million? Was it 11 for 8? I believe.
Yep.
8.35 for Owen Power.
And 8 point. I thought it was 8.75.
No,
Either
it's,
way.
it's 8.35.
Either way, they got their defenseman locked up for the long haul. So everybody knew that was going to be the order of which it was going to happen. And it was just a matter of time of when it was going to happen and with the price and the years behind it. So if you really look at it, you locked up Tage and you locked up Cousins down the middle for $14 million AAV every year. And now you locked up with Power and Darlene for $19 million. So that's how you start a franchise, with building from within and expanding out. You gotta, I don't know what it's gonna be like when I know the cap's supposed to be going up every year, but
Yeah, next year it's supposed to be like $14 million up or something like that. Like it's a pretty drastic number.
which I'm fine with. That's great. That's why these guys are making these moves and getting these deals like they are. Which I'm fine,
Get
it's about
it done early.
It's about time this league is starting to grow more and the cap grows more. I'm all for that. I mean, everyone goes crazy when they see these numbers, but it's like, you know what? You compare them to other sports, this is nothing.
Right. I mean, when you're looking at football or baseball, I mean, the cap is astronomically high. And I mean, a lot of times when you're looking at what's happened here, I mean, essentially you're locking up your two in your offensive core for only like 14 mil, and you're locking up 2 in your defensive core for 19. I mean, look at baseball where you have like the average cap of like over 300 million in a lot of cases.
Yeah,
and you have players getting like 70 plus a year.
Yeah, like Manny Machado, I think when he signed with the Padres a few years ago, I think his contract was like 12 years, 300 million. Garrett Cole with the Yankees, I think he was the only pitcher, I believe, in Major League Baseball to have around $300 million with a 9-year contract. He signed that 4 years ago, and he's making 300 million, which is crazy. Bryce Harper, I think, is making like 400 million with the Phillies or something ridiculous number.
Oh yeah, and he's playing his ass off in this series.
Yeah. Watch what's going to happen in the offseason. And you and I have spoke about this when you came down, was I guarantee you that if the Mets are in on Shohei Ohtani, same with the Dodgers, one of those two, I'm willing to bet you, is going to pay him around 500 to 600 million for at least 13 years at minimum. Because
It wouldn't
that's
surprise me.
No, it wouldn't be. He's too talented at that point to get that kind of money. But in the NFL, though, it's not about the length and the total like price of the contract. It's the guaranteed money. Like look what just happened with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow got like what, 275 for like 5 years with Cincinnati, and he's guaranteed 220. This is the type of shit that's going to fuck up teams in the NFL for the long run. Cleveland paid what, 230 for Deshaun Watson. Joe Burrow was paid 219 with Cincinnati, and then teams like Kansas City and Buffalo with cheaper contracts with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. But those two guys were prepaid before they became budding superstars. So those guys are in healthy contracts. And the same could be said about what's going on with the Sabres. You pretty much lock up your core, which, was it Power, Darlene, Cousins, Thompson, Samuelson, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Everybody knew that they were going to at least make some sort of establishment that they were going to lock these guys up. But the thing that really impresses me the most is everybody is in the range of $7 to $8 million. And these guys are all budding superstars.
Yeah. And I will say this. Was I sold on Adams when he was announced as a GM several years ago? No, I wasn't. Because I thought someone else should come in and someone who's been experienced. But Adams has done a better job than I expected with locking these guys up. And he's done a good job with rebuilding Rochester. So Rochester is really freaking deep at this point. He's got a great core on the Sabres now. And they've played another year together. So they should start, realistically, I don't see them missing the playoffs. I mean, they should at least hit a wild card spot, but they're off to a good start. And here's another thing I want to bring up too. Zach Benson made the team, and I'm impressed with that.
Dude, he's going to be so fucking good. I'm
I
telling
saw
you
him
right now.
Yeah, as I say, Andy, I know you got to see him quite a bit.
I got to see him live in the first game of the Prospects Challenge, and telling you, it was kind of funny to see how much he stays relentless on the puck carrier. He gets in open space all the time. It's kind of like watching like a lower version of a Bedard, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
The only knock on him is he doesn't have that breakout speed, but he can fly into certain areas. Don't get me wrong. He's got some speed, but he doesn't have that breakout speed, which is fine. But that kid he's relentless. He gets on that puck carrier and he does not stay off him until he gets that puck off that opposition stick. I was amazed, to be honest with you. And don't knock it. Savoy Savoy's
had a good. Yeah, Savoy's been playing pretty well.
He got hurt, but if he goes to the AHL, fine. But you know what? It's only a matter of time before he gets called up. I think he could easily get a spot on this lineup too, to be honest with you.
I don't think he can go back to the AHL. I think if anything, he can go back to the Western Hockey League at minimum, because the dude's only 18. I think you have to be at least 20 years old, maybe 19 at minimum, to be eligible for the AHL. But if anything, Benson's probably going to go back to, the WHL and play for the whatever their names are now, because they were Winnipeg, then they moved to Washington State. I don't even know what their names are, but either way, he could get sent back down to WHL with Matt Savoy. And then I know Savoy's on IR, but those two guys are still in development. And listen, I'm seeing him play on Saturday against the Islanders, so I'll be at that game. There will be a Road to 32 episode about that game, so just keep an eye out for that. But for the time being, I have to say, though, with Zach Benson, I'm really impressed. I agree with Andy on that. I think he's going to be a hell of a hockey player when he gets fully developed. But it's not Bedard who he reminds me of. In comparison, he reminds me of Mitch Marner. He's quick. He's got a hell of a shot, and he can get into the dirty areas, too. So he likes to put the puck in the net. He's not afraid to get into those areas. So he can make everything work within his balance. But the only downside is that he's a little small. But that's fine, because I think the smaller the body, the quicker you are. And Zach Benson, it's got to get a little muscle, but I think by the time he turns 21, I think he'll be fully set, ready to go and make a huge attribute in the NHL, for all we know.
Yeah, I mean, good thing is he's not Nathan Pace small, so at least there's a plus there. But another comment that actually came out is when Kevin Adams was talking about keeping Benson up here with the big club, and one of the things he mentioned was not only the things that you guys already covered, but the fact with his knack for the puck and being able to think defensively and control the situation and doing so better than many other 18-year-olds. That was definitely something that stood out too, because he has that really good puck awareness. And like you mentioned, Andy, and you mentioned it too, Bobby, that same thing. He just is relentless when it comes to the puck. He's going to control the situation, and he has many ways he can burn the opposition.
Well, for me, I think he like with being 18 years old, 19 years old. I get that he's a young kid and he's only going to get better. But I feel like offensively, whoever he's aligned with in the near future, we'll probably find out tomorrow when they play the Rangers. I feel like he's going to be one of those players that's going to make everybody better around him. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I was hoping he was going to stay on the line with Tage and Jeff. I know they set their lines at a couple days ago with Tuck going back with Skinner and Tage, which is fine.
Oh, I didn't
But-
see that.
Yeah, they set the lines. Benson was playing with Middlestat and Greenway on a third line role. I was hoping that Benson would at least get a chance to be on that line with Tage and Skinner while obviously Quinn is out, but also because I know Cousins and Tuck had a lot of chemistry too when they played it with each other on a line. So I'm sure they'll get flipped around once in a while. But yeah, he's got a third line role starting tomorrow, and you'll see Olofsson up with Cousins and Paterka, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's gonna be nice when I see him play live on Saturday, Zach Benson, against the Islanders. Like I said, I'm excited to go to that game.
It'll be definitely exciting to watch him play for sure. I was eyeing him and Savoy the entire time. Even though there was a couple other guys that were playing really well during that prospects challenge, and of course, if you watched or saw any highlights through the preseason games, you can see there's a lot of good young talent coming. It's just a matter of time with who can prospect or generate their talent from an AHL level to the NHL, and have an impact, so to speak.
All we
Yeah.
mostly know is the Sabres are gonna be really fucking good soon.
I just hope that the goaltending tandem pulls through, because that's my biggest question.
Yeah, and right now they're going to start with 3. So of course you've got Devin Levi, who's going to get the start tomorrow night, and then of course you have UPL and you got Comrie. And
I think personally that UPL is going to be the one to get knocked out pretty quickly. I think he's going to get traded by mid-November if things go south for him at least, because Levi is pretty much the projected starter, which I'm fine with. But I think Comrie, with having more experience in the NHL, I think he's going to win the job, because I think he's played a hell of a lot better than UPL in the preseason. But preseason doesn't mean shit. What matters is what actually happens on the ice and with full-time NHL starters. But I think, though, that UPL is the guy that's going to get traded. But the question is when. It's not if in that situation.
right. And the sad thing is, because I remember watching UPL at the Prospects Challenge when he first came up, and he looked great. It's just unfortunately injuries totally destroyed his career. And when you're that young and you have 2 major hip surgeries, and then you're not getting that cross crease movement that you used to have,
Yep.
and you're not being able to play the puck like you used to do. I mean, and this was somebody I would say, even when we look back to season 1 of this show, I'm like, okay, this guy is like a next generation combination of where he has elements of Ryan Miller and he has some elements of Hasek. He used to be able to butterfly. I haven't seen that in a while. So UPL just hasn't been able to really develop the way that he should. And honestly, I think he's regressed in the last couple of years.
I actually
And-
remember you saying that in season 1.
Yeah, where I thought he was like he had some elements of what I thought with Hasek back when he was playing in the day. He looked a lot like Ryan Miller with how he could move in the crease, and I even thought he had some elements of like Tuukka Rask in the sense too. But right now, UPL hasn't proven jack shit to me at this point. I mean, he's just gone backwards, and it's time unload him and get some value for him while you still can, because otherwise you're not getting anything for him.
The only team I can think of that could really use him is either Colorado or Tampa Bay right now. Tampa Bay is in deep shit. Even though they beat Nashville, they got a lot of goaltending problems. You're not going to go into the season, and the Lightning know this too. They're not going into the season with Jonas Johansson as their starter. He sucks. I don't know why anybody would put any faith in him to be their
UPL
starter.
would be an upgrade over Johansson, honestly.
Well, obviously Vasilevsky got surgery, which he desperately needed, but the problem is Tampa's window in that extent to make the playoffs is very thin without him. And they know this.
I'll tell you, this fall festival stuff is good.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. Good old October beer.
Mm-hmm. You're a sucker for October beer.
Hey, gotta have Oktoberfest or fall festival beer every October.
Oh,
It's like
hell
every
yeah.
it's like every summer when I drink the summer shandies.
Oh, hell yeah.
So, but we'll see what happens. Obviously, I mean, there's a lot that's going to come across as we get underway in the season. And right now, just if anyone's interested, Chicago and Boston are still tied at 1 with 12:15 left in the second. And right now, it's Boston's got 17 shots on goal, 10 for Chicago, and we got a nice little fight on the ice. So that's good to see there.
Yeah. And for anybody who wants to know, it's 2-1 Carolina in the halfway point of the second period. The Canes just went up 2-1 with Table of Carolina and just putting the puck in the net.
Yep. If anyone's also wondering, Bedard got his first NHL goal tonight.
Hell yeah.
And he got his first NHL hit just now on none other than Brad Marchand.
Yeah.
Oh God, that's so satisfying.
Yeah, that's where we had the nice little fisticuffs happening. All right.
Yeah.
So,
It wasn't a great big hit, but you got a little piece of him as Marchand ducked down to get out of the
Yeah.
way.
got to do it.
He's
Yeah,
a
they're showing it
baby.
too.
Let him develop.
Oh,
He's just a baby.
He got him pretty good with the shoulder.
You know what's funny about the whole thing with the NHL is the NHL is treating Connor Bedard like you ever have a like in your life where you get a new puppy in your household and you want to show him off. He's like, oh, he's so cute. He's gonna be he's gonna be a great family pet. You know what I'm talking about? It's
The
kind
same
of like
thing
that.
they did with
And then all of a
McDavid.
sudden, oh damn, Tom just fucking left out. But you know what I'm saying though, right, Andy, about the whole thing with the whole puppy situation where you show him off and then it's like, check out my new puppy. Isn't he cute? And then you just rub it into someone's face.
When it's a generational talent, they're going to, just like they did with McDavid, just like they did with Matthews. You know,
Yeah,
Crosby, Ovechkin, everybody, they're going to treat them like they're a brand new puppy. And, the light's going to shine for them for at least this year to start. And then depending on how they are or how they do, they're always going to get it just because of their name alone. It doesn't really matter what the fuck they do on the ice.
yeah. So, and speaking of new puppies, Jamie Drysdale and Trevor Zegras both got fucked over by Disney with the new contracts they just got. Each got what, like 3 years, 15 million by the Ducks?
Yeah. Laughable.
This is why the Ducks are a fucking shithole. They don't want to pay their star players the money that they were desired. Trevor Zegras deserves to get paid like 7 years worth around maybe 7.5, 8 million. I understand that contract, but come on. That's such a cheap ass deal. Jamie Drysdale was no better too. Jamie Drysdale's contract was worse. He got 3 years, $2.3 million. I don't know how the fuck do you explain this to the fans. If you have two guys that you want to sign into an extension, what kind of impression are you making if you are trying to lowball your star players and you're trying to rebuild? What kind of shit is this?
Unacceptable.
For their caliber, I agree.
Mhm.
Especially Zegras. It's
Yeah.
bullshit. He should-
Unacceptable. He should have commanded more. And quite honestly, if I were Zegras, I would have said, fuck you and I walk.
Well, the problem is he's an RFA, so
Oh, right,
the Ducks were going to have to keep him either way.
right. But even still, I mean, I'd be like, screw this. It's like, we need to really jack the number up.
It's I'm just saying it's borderline ridiculous with how everything came out to be. So
And again, it's the Ducks ownership. They're cheap asses. They've been ever since they took over that club.
it's funny how Disney used to own them, and then all of a sudden they sell away their assets, and the Samueli family decides to be a bunch of cheap fucks, and they're just like, "All right, Trevor, how much you want to make? Oh, you want to make 7, 8 million? No, we're gonna give you 5."
Yeah, take it and like it. Because you ain't getting anything else.
Look, even though the Ducks are cheap, at least when the Sabres were somewhat bad at that point, at least they were willing to sign contracts that were over $10 million.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just insanely cheap with how the Ducks are. And it figures no wonder why they suck.
Yeah, and look, and their goaltending situation sucks because they have a goaltender that doesn't even want to be there.
and his contract is pretty large. So
Mhm.
good luck
Well,
with that.
Good
You're
old
not
John
getting John
Gibson.
Gibson for his price.
Oh, hell no. He ain't worth what he's looking for.
Yeah. And so apparently, did you hear, Tom, about the NHL draft is considering hosting the draft in the Sphere in Las Vegas?
I did hear about that, and that Sphere is something else.
Yep. So apparently the NHL is considering, according to Chris Johnson, he said the NHL is considering hosting the 2024 NHL entry draft at the Sphere in Las Vegas, Nevada. Like, how are you going to do that? Isn't that like bad for your eyes and for your ears? You have a big ass arena that's like an IMAX theater with a projected screen outside, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, what's going on? You know
Well, I
what I'm saying?
mean, yeah, I mean, inside the Sphere is just like a regular arena. So, I mean, it's really not that much different. I mean, it seats like 18,000. So, I mean, you'll still get capacity like you have here in Buffalo or other major hockey arenas. Just a real big difference at night. They turn on the massive video screen outside the Sphere, which is the entire Sphere, and
Basically.
they could do some crazy shit with it. Because I've seen some stuff of that at like on different YouTube sites at night. And I'm like, holy crap!
Yeah, so not only is it an arena, mind you, for concerts and stuff, but it's also now basically a Las Vegas artifact. Like, this is their equivalent to like the Eiffel Tower or the Statue of Liberty. That's what the Sphere is at this point, because they
Yeah.
just opened the building not even a week ago.
Yeah, the funny thing is they have replicas of the Eiffel Tower and the Statue of Liberty in Vegas. It's like go to the Paris Hotel, you'll have the freaking Eiffel Tower right in front. Shit, my dad actually helped build that place. Or go to New York. I've actually been to that hotel before, and they have the Statue of Liberty and the entire New York City skyline and the replica of the Brooklyn Bridge on the property.
I mean, that's a good way of expanding your brand in the NHL. So that's that. And
Mhm.
speaking of branding, did you hear about the recent rumors? Because we talked about it now multiple times over, Tom. I don't know if Andy's heard this or not, but supposedly there's rumors going around about the NHL potentially using Atlanta as the front runner for the NHL as their next expansion team. And it's almost a guarantee that Atlanta is the next team to be expanded in the NHL. In fact, let me actually read this to you. And it says right here that quote that the NHL is expanding is a guarantee, and the league has had strong conversations with Quebec City, Atlanta, Salt Lake City, and Houston. And the NHL will be expanding again, and each city has motivated ownership groups. And if the Coyotes do not resolve their arena situation soon, one of those cities will be used as relocation purposes, likely Salt Lake City or Houston. And the league has had strong positive conversations with those cities and is a guarantee that there will be NHL hockey played in at least some of them in the near future. And quote from Pierre LeBrun, it is absolutely a when, if not situation, and an expansion is coming in the NHL. And then it gets worse. Listen to this. The Toyota Center in Houston, Texas, home of the Houston Rockets, is currently undergoing a $30 million renovation, which includes the installation of an ice-making equipment for a situation that an NHL hockey team can come to Houston, and the Rockets plan to add the ice machine that would be needed for Toyota Center to become an NHL venue, though there is still no immediate plans to bring a team to the NHL in Houston, and that addition would be the only change needed for hockey, and with the arena and the favorable downtown location widely considered to be the NHL standards, and no construction would be necessary. And when listing plans for future phases of renovation, the Rockets president of business operations, Gretchen Shear, included, quote, making sure this building is ready for anything, which includes making sure it's hockey ready. And the NHL has already been used for hockey before. That was for the Houston Aeros, and the AHL being used as a facility from 2013 from 2003. So a 10-year span in Houston.
Well, I will say they are NHL ready. I mean, they have a good building. They've done upgrades over the years since it opened. They have played hockey there before. I mean, they had the Houston Aeros, so that's nothing new. So really just minimal stuff. I mean, they could easily get a team. Same thing with Salt Lake City and the Delta Center. They have it NHL ready. They did a massive renovation there within the past 2 years. Updated scoreboard, updated seating, replaced everything. They have full ice surface there. So that arena, I think, seats anywhere between 15 and 17,000 for hockey, but same thing. Salt Lake's a good market. I mean, honestly, the Coyotes could go to either Houston or Salt Lake and totally be fine. They can stay in the same conference. They can stay in the same decision in the division. I mean, they're still in the same time zone, plus or minus 1 hour at the most. There's really, it's not a bad deal either way. Although I will say, I hope to God Quebec City gets another team because I want to see that Quebec City Montreal rivalry come back.
You and me both. I want Quebec City so bad.
Yeah.
Those are freaking bloodbath games. So
Oh,
we haven't had
absolutely.
that in forever.
Well, maybe. I mean, it's been quite some time since that all was a thing.
And it's
I
too
mean,
Boston.
it may take some time to redevelop. And Pasternak just scored, making it 2-1 Boston.
All right.
Unbelievable. But I don't know. Like, it's pretty obvious that the NHL is just stroking their dicks so hard until their cum comes out of their pee hole to the point where they want to put a team in Atlanta again for the third time. Why are they so obsessed of doing a threesome in Atlanta? This doesn't make any sense to anybody. They failed the first 2 times. Why are you going back a third time to Atlanta? I said this twice already on the show. Why the fuck are they still going to try and attempt another, possibility of adding an NHL team in Atlanta? And based on the comments I just said a few minutes ago about the possibility of about expansion and relocation for the Coyotes, you can already cross off Atlanta as a possible relocation because that is not happening by any means.
And there's 2 words. It's called legalized prostitution. Except it's like that in the NHL, where basically it's like, hey, you want a team? Give us like $800 million. Here you go.
I can't stress this enough. There's no reason to have Atlanta be another team because the league is delusional that it's going to work a third times the chart narrative. And then Quebec City deserves another NHL team. But no, the Canadian dollar is bad according to the NHL. Just move the fucking Coyotes, move them to Quebec City, and shut the fuck up. That's all I'm hoping for.
Well, Atlanta's 2 for 2 on one thing. Both their teams moved to Canada because it was the Calgary Flames that they became after being the Atlanta Flames.
And then you lose the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, exactly. What is it? 3rd time's the charm. They lose a team and it becomes the Quebec Nordiques or something.
Again, what the fuck is the point of even having an expansion team in Atlanta if it didn't work the first 2 times? And furthermore, speaking of Houston, it's a nice idea that at least the ownership is looking into, with the Houston Rockets at least, they're at least looking to make a major renovation to make it ready for hockey. So they're basically preparing themselves for a possible NHL team, which is a good thing to do because I think that there's been a lot of speculation about Houston getting an NHL team. But again, I would love to see a team in Houston rival the Dallas Stars. I think that would be great for hockey. But at the same time, again, this Atlanta thing is bullshit. They should not be going to Atlanta. It didn't work twice already. Stop pushing this narrative of moving the team to Atlanta or at least putting an expansion team in Atlanta. Okay, Vegas, fine. Seattle, fine. Atlanta, that's bullshit.
Right. And we do have a final in Philadelphia. The Philadelphia Phillies win 10-2 over the Atlanta Braves.
Bye, Braves. See you later.
Yeah, but you want to know what the worst stat of it is? So, of course, here's what we got for the winning side. Nola, 1.42 ERA. Great series. Take a guess at what Elder's ERA is after going 0-1 in this.
Oh, God. Somewhere in at least the 100s. Like 1.85 or something like that.
No, Elder, 0-1 with a 20.25 ERA. I'm like, oh my God.
God almighty, that's terrible. That's just horrible, honestly. And again, I predicted this real quick about baseball. I predicted the Dodgers and I predicted the Orioles to go to the World Series, and both of them are going to lick my asshole because they're both going to get swept.
Well, Arizona and the Dodgers are about to get started here, and here's something different. The retractable roof is open tonight in Arizona.
Great.
They're actually playing the game in the freaking elements. for a
That's
change.
great. Definitely,
Yeah.
it definitely should work in their favor.
Yeah, well, it looks like Lance Lynn is going to get the start for the Dodgers, so he's going to be on the mound, and he's got like a 5.75 ERA. So I mean, again, anything can happen. Anything can happen.
Yep. And then so and the game's on what? TBS, ESPN?
Yep, TBS.
So I was gonna say if it was on ESPN, we actually have some news that happened hours before the opening face-off for the NHL opening season for 23-24. And that is longtime ESPN analyst and guru of the NHL, Barry Melrose, is forced to retire and is stepping away from ESPN because he has been confirmed to be diagnosed with Parkinson's disease.
Ooh, Godspeed, man.
Man, oh man,
That's some nasty stuff to deal with.
That's terrible. I feel really bad for him, but he had a great career, you know, being the coach in LA with the Stanley Cup and then going on ESPN and being a good analyst. You know, I think that it really speaks volume about Barry Melrose. I know he didn't have the best reputation, but he definitely was one of the better analytics people in the NHL for ESPN to have because everyone else sucks at their job. So he was always a classic guy to have, you know, in the studio and all that stuff. So, I mean, I wish, you know, a speedy recovery. I wish him all the best moving forward for Barry Melrose. And thank you for your service in the NHL.
Yeah, very true. I may not have always agreed with his opinion, but he is definitely a good analyst.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
It's crazy how we're already not even a week into the NHL season and already we've had a bunch of news coming out.
right. Yeah, it looks like it's gonna be Brendan Pfaadt going for the Diamondbacks tonight, so
It's unbelievable.
be interesting.
Yeah, but I think that's about it. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we actually covered everything, and we're just at the top of the hour. So,
What do you think about Patrick Kane sniffing around still?
oh yeah, Sabres are actually giving it consideration too, which honestly would not be a bad addition to the lineup.
Like I
Wait.
said,
What about the
if they-
Sabres?
They're actually realistically looking at possibly adding Patrick Kane to the lineup.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Mhm.
Holy shit.
Yeah, they're actually one of a couple of clubs that are actually thinking about going in on him.
I'm not
Yeah.
surprised about this. He's from Buffalo.
Yeah, I've seen the front of his house before. I know
Well-
exactly where he lives.
Well, maybe he's probably gonna live in a different area now that he's loaded for life.
He lives right on fucking Lake Erie in a mansion. He ain't gonna move.
Oh, yeah, I know that. He lives in the South Town in Hamburg. Wait, I
Yeah,
believe he sold
Lakeview.
that. Though. I thought he sold that house.
I
Could have
think
swore he sold it.
he might still have it, but last I remember, he lived in Lakeview. Just
I
right
could've
outside of
sworn he
Hamburg.
sold- I'd have to look, but I'm pretty sure he sold that house.
Either way, so I found the tweet you guys were talking about with Patrick Kane. It's from Elliot Freeman. And he said, quote, Florida was very aggressive during the summer, but Buffalo will be the team to watch. So it's pretty much almost set in stone that Patrick Kane will indeed be joining the Buffalo Sabres. It's just a matter of when.
Can you picture adding him to the lineup? I mean,
Well, they're going to have to get rid of somebody. So,
yeah,
my
get rid
guess-
of Olofsson.
Well, I think they're going to trade Olofsson. I've said it for a while. I think they're going to trade him to Calgary during closer to the deadline. You know, Patrick Kane, you know, I think he's going to get called up. So what I think is going to happen is this. If Zach Benson somehow gets told, listen, we're going to send you back down to the WHL. You're only 18. This is not a punishment by any means. You're going to go down to the WHL and you're going to develop and you're going to be a great hockey player. We know this.
Mhm.
But we want to add Patrick Kane. So
Right.
maybe they don't have to necessarily trade Olofsson for the time being.
I don't know.
Maybe
But if
just
they
have
do
to
that,
send Benson down.
if they do that, he's only got a 9-game stint for that to happen. So,
Yeah, but even
Yeah,
with the
it's-
9 games though, it's not going to go against their ELC.
Well, remember the last time that they tried the 9-game ELC with Mikhail Grigorenko, and look where that got them. They had to basically eat a year of his contract, and then he
Yeah.
left for the KHL anyways.
and you also got to think Jack Quinn's going to be back at least halfway through the season. So, Moves
Yeah,
are gonna
I expect
be-
Jack Quinn to be back in less than a couple of months. He'll probably be back by the time I come up to Buffalo for the Bills game.
I think it though, if you had Patrick Kane to the offense on this team, you figure, well, Jack Quinn coming back. You figure you already have Thompson, you already have Skinner, you already have Benson, who made the team right now, which that's if he stays up here. And you look at everybody that you've built around, it's got to be one fun team to watch in the East.
I mean, I'm not against the idea of adding Patrick Kane. I've said for years that, they should at least consider it. But
He
now,
also-
with all the rumors coming out, it's looking very likely he will be joining the Buffalo Sabres. And that's pretty cool.
Well, nothing's set in stone yet, but when you think about people being added and people have to be shipped out, another person to watch this year to see if he's gonna raise his game is Peyton Krebs.
Mhm.
I would
I-
not trade Peyton Krebs right now. I would
I
give
wanna-
him at least
I wanna
He
see him
might be
emerge.
I might be on the low key hot seat if he doesn't start producing like a first rounder, and that's gonna be tough to do given fourth line minutes.
Right.
So I don't know. Like I said, you're gonna be adding and subtracting. If you're gonna add Kane and you're gonna add, Quinn coming back in the lineup, you gotta make moves. You gotta clear cap, you gotta make moves. I mean,
Yeah.
Lord knows what Kane is gonna expect on a 1-year deal. Is he gonna want 3 million? Is he gonna want 5 million? Who knows?
Right.
See, I don't agree with that because, Krebs is only like what, 20, 21?
Hasn't produced.
Yeah, because he got rushed into the NHL, and that was obviously being involved in the Eichel trade almost 2 years ago. But it's the fact that he had a good year when he first came to Buffalo, which we can all agree on. Him and Alex Tuch both had a great game against Vegas when Eichel came back. But aside from that, though, it's kind of hard for a kid like Krebs at 21 years old to be overmatching everybody else within that core. It's almost
gotta
impossible.
produce that. It's gonna come down to production because you have another centerman waiting in the lines with Matt Savoy. So you gotta start producing or you're gonna be the odd man out.
Yeah. I mean, we're stacked at
They have
center
so-
right now.
They have so much talent coming. It's unbelievable. It's gonna be either you're gonna be producing or
You're
get
out.
prepared to be shipped
Yeah,
eventually.
yeah, you're not getting Connor Hellebuck or Mark Scheifele at this point. They both signed extensions, so
I'm not
you can
saying that,
immediately
I'm
cross
just-
them both out.
You are going to have to move guys in order to move guys up. Like Benson, nobody expected him to get a roster spot off the hop. Now, what would have happened if him and Savoy were both playing and they both lit it up? Now, there's two players that you're going to have to fiddle around with.
Mhm.
Who's going? Who's staying? Who's
Right.
going? Is Vince going? Krebs going? Olsen going? And
Yeah.
you got to make room for these guys. These guys are going to start coming up, and if
Yeah,
you're not producing, you're gonna be in a package deal, or you're gonna be waived or traded for picks. That's how it's gonna go.
well, I kind of said this too. Well, I would figure that based on the Sabres farm system, because we can all admit in this room that their farm on all of their offensive players are fucking amazing. They're all doing great. But the one I will say though, is I would give Krebs at least another year or two. I don't want to say, put the pressure on him and then he flops and then there's no trade value. I want to see him develop because again, you don't fully develop when you're 21 years old. That it takes time. Some players bloom when they're 23, 24. It
I
happens.
understand that, but if other guys are taking the hop and producing at 18 and 19, and you're not hitting stride at 21, 22, it's just gonna make things more difficult.
Well, I mean, he was a big prize in the Eichel trade. And I'm not going to say, well, this is a good thing to have because I would say for Buffalo's end, this is a good problem to have because
It
you're
is.
basically, you drafted so many good offensive weapons for your lineup down the road, but then you also have contracts that are in play that could be a big part. Hell, I think there's a better chance of Middlestad getting moved at this point than Peyton Krebs. And I know people are going to think I'm crazy, but I genuinely believe that if Middlestad doesn't produce at this rate, I think he's going to be the one that's going on the chopping block because he's been in the Sabre system for what now, 6-7 years?
At least 4 or 5.
Mhm.
Okay, so because it was what 2017 he was drafted, so 6-7 years at minimum is what I would give a player. If you don't produce by the time you're 25, then you can get the fuck out. I usually give players at least a minimum of 4 years to develop because what if Peyton Krebs gets traded to, let's say, like the Islanders, for example, or like a team that needs a top 6 player. And let's say if you trade him to like Minnesota, what if he plays on the line with Matt Boldy and he turns into a star? And then the narrative would be like, oh, the Sabres traded another star player. So
It's okay. If we got a good player to replace him, I mean, you gotta understand, everybody didn't think Benson was gonna take a spot. Everyone thought a spot was gonna be open for Lucas Rusek to take that spot. Benson came out of nowhere and just blew everything up.
I wouldn't say he came out of nowhere. It was more of just that Benson just played beyond his expectations.
He's okay. Well, you got an 18-year-old playing who won a spot. You got Rusek, who's 23, who's still fighting for a spot. Their skill sets are different. The age difference is, a considerable gap at 5 years. I mean, that's just going to put him into a place where, hey, you might be on a package deal for a trade on out of here. You know what I mean? It's the older you get, if you can't break the lineup and you can't make an impact, you're either going to get traded or you're going to get waived or whatever have you.
I don't know. I just don't like that idea of having to trade Peyton Krebs so early. Because
I'm not saying they're going to trade him early, but if he doesn't start producing, it's going to come a time where it's be like, hey, other people are going to, or let's say if Savoy's doing well down in the AHL and they want to bring him up, someone's got to go.
like I can understand like Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen because the guy's been like 24, 25. He's had 6 years to develop. And I know that he's had hip surgery and all that. But again, we know what he is at this point. He's not the guy. And they're getting so desperate to trade him that you're carrying 3 goalies. Like, how is that working? Like, UPL can at least fetch you maybe like a 3rd or 4th round pick, maybe another player in, on the blue line. I mean, I don't know what's going to take, but you got to do something with that.
They're just playing it out to see who thrives and who doesn't, who
Of course.
produces.
I mean, it's a young
So,
team.
It just depends on how long of a timeline will they let it keep going until they say, hey, all right, now's the time to trade somebody here. Either we go out and get a goalie and bring a goalie in. Who knows what they're going to do.
The other problem too, you have to take into account is because you're so loaded with so many offensive talented players, you might not, the Sabres might be facing a position where they may have no choice but to at least trade 2 of them to get a package deal for like an established defenseman or an established goalie. It's gonna happen because that's how good Buffalo's system has been in the last few years. Because that's what they've been developing ever since Darlene.
All depends on how they do. They start out fast, they start out well, they go back into a slump. I mean, it all depends on how they play and what they feel is best to do for as an organization. So we'll see where things go. I'm just saying there's some guys that can be put in a package deal to be sent out for other guys to come in or come up. We'll see what happens. We'll see how things play out.
Yeah. Is Tom alive?
Yeah.
I thought you were dead for a second.
No, I'm here.
No,
I'm just listening.
you look confuzzled.
No, I'm here.
So
And it's like Dodgers and Arizona are still tied up.
yeah, so I think at this point now, I think that's about it based on all of the topics.
It's all good. I mean, we did cover a lot tonight, and right now it looks like we're going to 0-2 right now for Arizona in the ending, so still tied at 0. But I do want to say this though, Andy, nice to have you back. Definitely good to see you and talk some hockey now that we finally actually have some hockey we can talk about. And then of course, the guys in the chat, you didn't send us anything tonight. Come on, call us or send us something, at some point. But that being said, of course, also check us out on Spotify. We do have the episodes uploaded there for the season. And then, of course, until next time, we're going to take care of yourselves and each other because we will see you then.
Take care, guys, and go Sabres.